Hooligan and The Harridan podcast. I am the Hooligan.
And I'm the Harridan.
Before we get to today's episode, we wanted to talk a little bit about our sponsors, our multiple sponsors.
Our sponsors now.
Right. We're big time now.
Yeah.
So, do you want to go first?
We just picked up a new one, which is exciting because I was already a fan of this product before I knew that A, the company was owned by somebody who also went to our jiu-jitsu gym, and B, who also was in Alex's strength class in the morning. I found the Five Sparrows brand chai drink mix in the coffee house that's right by the gym that we go to for coffee on a regular basis. And I saw that it was stevia sweetened and it had coconut milk creamer in it, and it wasn't like full of junk. It was macro friendly, and they had a dark chocolate and a white chocolate mix, and they didn't have milk in either of those. It wasn't like milk powder, whole milk powder or whatever, which is fine if you can digest those things, but we can't. So I have a pack of the stevia sweetened chai mix in my house, and I put it in my smoothie in the mornings to flavor my smoothie. And I come to find out that Alex teaches Mel in his morning strength class, and Mel owns Five Sparrows, and she is also a podcast listener.
Hi, Mel.
Hi, Mel. And we had coffee with her today, and she gave us a bunch of samples, which I'm really excited about because I haven't gotten to try the salted caramel mix yet, but I have tried.
What's that pumpkin one? Is that chai, or is that like a coffee flavoring?
No, that's different. This is the chai mix. So these are the mixes that they have.
Gotcha. Okay.
They have spiced chai, they have dark cocoa, they have white chocolate, they have salted caramel, and then they have a frappe and smoothie base that is all that it has coconut milk creamer in it as well, and it's stevia sweetened also. And so you can add it to your smoothies if you want to add like a creaminess to it. And they are really macro friendly if you're paying attention to your macros, which I have been for the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. And they're all just like it's a 3 tablespoon serving size for the chai, but I'll add a tablespoon to my smoothie, and it adds like really great flavor. And then the rest of their drink mixes are 1 tablespoon servings, so they're super macro friendly, like 2 grams of fat, 6 carbs, nothing nasty, nothing gross, super easy ingredients to read, not overly sweet, don't have a bitter aftertaste. And I'm a big fan. And so she gave me some fun samples today, which I'm excited to try some more, but I really like her stuff already. And I didn't know that I was supporting a local person when I bought the mix because I just liked it.
Yeah,
so
and they use stevia as a sweetener too, which is nice.
Stevia,
so it's sugar-free.
And erythritol. So, yeah. And it doesn't have that weird cold sensation when you drink it either, which you can get from xylitol.
Well, and I love supporting small businesses, especially ones that it's not just a local small business, but they also have really fantastic quality products as well.
Yeah, and
that we actually use.
I bought their products before I knew who it was. Mm-hmm. They sell on Amazon now, which is really cool. Yeah. So you can get their products on Amazon. But if you buy direct from their website, you can use our promo code, which is HH10.
The number 10.
2 capital H's, and then 10 gets you 10% off your order.
Right. So
and that is our Hooligan and The Harridan.
So that's 5sparrowsbrand.com. The number 5. sparrowsbrand.com. Use promo code
HH10
for 10% off your order.
10% off your order. It's really yummy. It's great for this time of year. It's great for any time of year, but it's an awesome coffee creamer too. Like you can add a tablespoon to your coffee as a creamer, and it's delicious and macro friendly.
All right. Next up is Dapper Guru. See, I said it right.
Guru. Dapper Guru.
My speech impediment.
Robert's company. Hi, Robert.
My brother said I sound like Mike Tyson when I say Dapper Guru.
You do.
So, Robert, we've talked about Robert a lot. Dapper Guru is a veteran-owned company that was founded by Robert Marshall. Robert was in the Army, came back and decided the products he was using over there in the Middle East
were terrible for his skin.
The desert sucked, so he decided to start making his own. And it was also a great creative outlet and a way to start his own business. And he's been killing it. And I've had him on the podcast a couple times, and he sent me a ton of stuff. I've bought a lot of his products. I love his products. And I think more importantly, when it comes to like men's grooming products. It's not so much the testimonial you get from the man per se, but the significant other.
So I will say this.
Yes. And we haven't even opened the hickory suede and rustic woods.
We haven't opened those other two yet, but we do have the bay woods, and we have the coffee,
wow.
the dark roast.
So far.
It's awesome because you walk into the bathroom and turn the shower on, and then it smells like coffee's roasting because there's a coffee scrub in there, and then there's the coffee soap. And I used the coffee soap last night, and I was like, this is amazing. It smells really good. Doesn't leave your skin with that nasty, dry, kind of tight feeling. But it also just, it wears well on you. So that's nice. It's not overpowering. It's just a really beautiful, pleasant smell. Like every product that you have that is his. I'm never like, ew, what's that? Right. I'm always like, ooh, what is that?
And as of right now, all the products are still made in Washington, D.C., handmade by Robert. Himself. Yeah.
We're trying to get him to move here.
Yeah. Look at some property.
So it'd be made here.
So
in Montana.
We're in Montana. We're just moving quality people. So
Mel's already here, so we're good.
So go to thedapperguru.com. So THEDAPPER guru.com and use promo code Cornerstone. I got to get him to do a promo code for this podcast, but use promo code Cornerstone for 15% off your order. Yeah. And last but not least is Constructive Solutions Enterprises. So this is our buddy Ryan and his company. We've talked about these ad nauseum, and we've posted about them on our social media page. I have recommended this to, I think we've had like 20 podcasts by signs from them now. So these guys make pretty much anything.
Beautiful work.
Yeah. So
really quality work.
Yeah.
Like I have zero complaints.
Yeah.
Their mounting system on the back is fantastic. Their work is beautiful.
Yeah. So if you guys can see, I mean, in my studio here, right, we've got the metal sign for Anna Marie's company, AM Strength. I've got this flag made by Chris Papandrea, which is awesome, like jiu-jitsu wood American flag. And we've got our Hooligan and The Harridan sign, and behind me is my Cornerstone one. And I, depending on what I'm recording, I just swap the signs. They're super easy, lightweight, easy to mount. They just pop on and off their brackets that are back there. And so the quality is impeccable. Another local-owned company. They can make anything from these custom-made signs, aluminum prints of any kind of picture that you send them. They have.
If you go on their website, sizes. You can see some of their really large prints of really beautiful photos that they've made on metal prints. Like you would do a canvas wrap, you can do a metal print.
Yeah, they made like a mini bar for Sacred Waters Brewing. They made like the bar tap handles. They do chalkboard sidewalk signs. I mean, literally, they can make you whatever you want. It's pretty amazing. But like the stuff they're really featuring right now are these metal signs and the pictures and their custom product signs. So if you go to their website or our social media page, you can check out some of their product stands that they custom make and ship out as well. So go to Constructive Solutions Enterprises. .myshopify.com. Again, I'll have all the links for this stuff both in the show notes, and you can just go to any one of our social media pages. You'll see the pages tagged as well. So, all right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Hooligan and the Harridan podcast. I am the Hooligan.
And I'm the Harridan.
And we are here in episode,
6?
In the frozen tundra of,
it's
the
cold
garage
today.
The Kalispell home.
See our breath. If you're not watching, I have the heater on my legs. I have my long socks, my leggings, my boots with the fur, my shirt, sweatshirt, beanie, down jacket, and my Packers blanket wrapped around my legs, and I am just about comfortable right now.
Are you doing okay?
My hands are cold. I drank my hot tea, so now my fingers are cold, so I'll have to keep them tucked.
The pockets are for.
Yeah.
There you go.
I also have longer sleeves that I can kind of just wrap over the fingers.
Yeah. So, and before anybody sends me messages going like, dude, insulate your garage and this and that.
We don't own it. We rent it.
Let me finish.
Let me finish.
I have chosen to put the money into the production of the podcast before our creature comforts.
So I'm warm because I have 85 layers on, which is fine. Exactly. I just know better. I know better now than to like just be like, I'll be cool with the heater and like warm boots and a jacket. No, I'm like, no, it's gonna be freezing. It's what is it right now? Like 20 degrees outside.
I don't know. It's freaking cold.
And it hasn't snowed in a few days, so it's real icy outside right now. It's pretty cold.
Exactly. pretty much this time of year is stay warm and keep the kids from eating shit and breaking their tailbones on ice as they decide to run around out there.
Once it snows, then they can go play in it because they have their snow boots and stuff.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%. So, all right. So we're in episode 6 now, right?
Which is therapy.
Yeah. Therapy.
The topic is therapy.
So I wanted to touch real briefly on our last episode. Okay. So that was things that piss you off as an adult.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. That was a fun one. And
I've had people think they thought it was really funny.
Yeah. And I got more people send me stuff after they listened to the
you
episode.
did?
Yeah. Sitting there going I didn't see the post and this and that. I said, hey, turn on the notifications. So listen, this is something we're doing every week. All right. So you follow us on Instagram, turn on post notifications. Every week we'll be posting a question to get some feedback in our stories and on the page itself as well. So that's the Hooligan and The Harridan Instagram page. I have to tell this story though too before I get to that one. Okay. So we were hanging out with Mel today, one of our sponsors.
So she owns Five Sparrows brand, which is the company that makes the stevia sweetened drink mixes and coffee creamers / drink mixes and frappe mixes. They're delicious and wonderful, but yes, And
I'm a talker, as you can tell.
Yeah, he's a talker.
And so I was chatting with the ladies in the strength class, and one of the things I talked about was, because some were asking like, oh, so what else do you do and this and that, and I brought up the podcast, and Mel was like, yeah, I heard you had a podcast. I said, I have 2. I have one with my wife. And she goes, I always want to listen to podcasts. I don't get into it. I said, you should listen to ours. It's really funny. And
he's modest.
Selfish. No shame.
Yeah.
But
self-aggrandizing.
I'm actually, what I'm doing is I'm repeating what people tell us. So
it's true.
Yeah. So I told her to check it out. And I think I even gave her a sticker. Had her check it out. And so when we met with her today to talk about her company and the sponsorship stuff and some other things, she brought up, she goes, we were getting ready to finish up, and we were talking about putting a promo code together for the podcast.
The read that we were going to do for the podcast.
She goes, yeah, just like pick something. She goes, but it can't be like the content that.
and I was like, what?
And Mel, she's so sweet. And it was funny. She's like, what, 5 feet tall, right?
Probably. Yeah, she'd probably say 5'1".
Right. And she did the Wimp to Warrior competition last May. So she actually fought in an MMA fight. Yeah. Right? Badass little woman. And runs her own company. And so, but she's kind of quiet. She doesn't cuss at all, right? And then out of the blue in this coffee
conversation.
Shop, yeah. So we can't call it the cunt in the.
And I totally forgot in the first episode, we had talked about the names that we had thought about to begin with. The creeper and the cunt.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what are you talking about? And I forgot.
That she was talking about. And I was like, what? And I was like, I don't remember talking about that. And so that was what she was talking about.
Yeah, that was pretty hilarious. And it's funny now. I listened to, I talked about this. I've listened to God knows how many podcasts over the last 10 years, right? And listened to some pretty big ones. And what's hilarious to me is how many times sometimes the hosts, whether it's Rogan or Schaub or even Andy at times, they'll talk or riff about something about somebody giving them crap for something they said. And they're like, dude, I talk for a living. I couldn't tell you what I said.
Well, that's
2 episodes ago. So now we're doing this on a regular basis.
I don't remember sometimes.
I'll get comments from people or my brother will, remember, my brother, Pierre. Hi, Pierre.
1 a.m.
He texted me, and I'm at 1 a.m. and he said something like, damn right, I was pissed off about that. Well, what he was doing was, right, because this is my brother, and he's listening to his brother and his sister-in-law's podcast. He's listening to it, and as he's listening to it, he texts us in response to something we said. And I texted him back. I'm like, are you drunk texting? What are you doing? Because it was at 1 a.m. Right? And I got it the next morning. And then later on in the day, I was like, hey, man, we can't hear you. We're not. So it was just... it was funny.
He was reiterating that nail biting is annoying as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, so that was hilarious. And then getting to what I was saying earlier was the response to the last topic was really funny. So,
oh man,
it was just the different topics we got, conversational topics as well. And people afterwards were like, "Oh, I wish you knew. I would have threw this one at you." And what was it? I got 4 people who told me idiots who don't know how to merge on a freeway. I never thought about that as a kid.
Yeah, for sure. But we talked about that and merging people in Washington. They don't know how to merge.
No, it's not a thing.
They don't know the zipper.
They pace each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get responses to this one? Because I have a few.
I only got 2. It was okay. I think it was a little too serious for my audience.
I feel like it's a serious topic.
It is after like the last one.
And I got some good, like I got like a funny one, but the majority of them are. It is a serious topic. Because
I think it'd be good. Yeah.
I think it'll be good. And we can talk a little bit about our experience with therapy.
I was thinking the same thing.
So growing up, it wasn't something that I did. But after our second child was born and I felt like I was just like always angry, I had a friend who had recently started therapy and she had somebody that she recommended. So I tried it out. And I ended up going to that therapist for 4 years till we moved out of the area. And
she was really good for you.
She was really good. At first it was every week, and then it was every couple weeks, and then it was once a month. But it was super helpful for me because it gave me perspective on things that I really didn't have perspective on. It helped me look at some of my childhood experiences with fresh eyes. And not in a blaming space, not in like, this is this person's fault, which is a good therapist won't be like, well, that's their fault and they're to blame for your feelings. A good therapist teaches you to own your responsibility and your feelings and help you integrate or find solutions to find ways to respond. And then when we moved, 6 years ago, I stopped seeing a therapist and I recently started seeing one again. Mm-hmm. And by seeing, I mean in Zoom calls, which actually works really well because then I don't have to drive and find parking and take that. Like,
I thought I would hate it.
Yeah. I thought I wouldn't like it, but it's actually nice because, it's even more private than being in somebody's office.
Yeah.
And she has been awesome and very, very helpful for me this time around as well, which I started in the summertime, because I recognized that like I wasn't dealing with the grief from like the sudden loss of my dad very well. And so I was doing things that are outside of my character. And so I knew I needed to adjust the way that I was dealing with it. And having her has been super, super helpful. And then through her, we found our marriage therapist. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've been together almost 15 years married and we've been together 18 years. And so it's been helpful. Right. And I think this time there's so many different styles of therapy, but this time we're using IFS, which is internal family systems, and solution-based work. That's been very, very helpful for us too. So there's no shame in our game around the fact that we utilize therapy, that we recognize its efficacy when you find somebody that you are comfortable with, that you trust, that is in a non-judgmental space.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot to be said for being able to talk to somebody that's not in your immediate family, that has no connection to any of that and can give you a reasoned
one is a response. Professional, just like we talk about how what we do for a living, what you do for a living.
Yeah.
And, I had somebody the other day talk to me about training their son, who's about 13 years old. And the guy's an athletic guy, plays a lot of sports, brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's like, I know how to lift weights. And he talked about how he wants to get him into it, and he has a setup at home. He's like, I thought about it, and then I already thought about my relationship with my son, and I was like, you know what? Probably better just to hire a professional. So it's one of those things where you can have people you confide in and talk to, but therapy is a different animal altogether as far as like, this is what people are trained to do.
Yeah, and they have all these
life
tools
experiences. Yeah.
that help you.
And believe it or not, like as somebody who's worked in a field for over 15 years that involves having clients, regardless of like what that position is, whether you're a doctor, a personal trainer, a chiropractor, a mechanic, whatever it is, like you're used to dealing with people on a regular basis.
Service-based industry,
yeah.
Right.
You build up best practices over time if you're good at what you do, because in essence, and I mean, I hate to kind of dumb it down like this, but early on, like your clients are also going through this kind of guinea pig process with yourself, because you're learning what works, what doesn't work, what works for specific kinds of people, what works for you, what's your strengths, what you need to work on and grow. So finding a good therapist is just like anything else. There could be crap ones out there, and I've ran into a couple myself.
You've had a couple crap ones.
My like you mentioned early on, you didn't have exposure much to therapy beyond. I can't remember if you talked about with your dad or not before yet on the podcast. No. So, yeah, my only experience with therapy when I was a kid was a horrible experience with a psychologist who basically had me committed at 10 years old for
having separation anxiety.
Separation anxiety from my parents when my mom went back to work. And this is when I was in 5th grade and after the 1989
earthquake.
Yeah, the 7.1 earthquake. So it was like my mom went back to work. We had this earthquake that basically like shook the universe.
His mom went back to work for the first time in his life.
Right. Yeah. And
like because up to that point she had been doing daycare at the house, which is like, you know, that's
it's like, and this is 19.
When he told me the story, which he thought he told me previously, many years previously, he told me this after we were married and our first child was born. I'm sitting there with my parents in our living room, and I'm in my pajamas with my jaw just
I'm
on my chest, going,
this all makes so much sense now.
What? And he's telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, isn't that when your mom went back to work? And he was like, yeah. I'm like, okay, for the first time in your entire life. Yes.
No, I knew so your
parents. Yeah, but you did not at the time, and your parents. No, you didn't.
I did.
No.
Yeah, because the doctor that actually, like, as I call it, fixed me, right? The one who figured out how to deal with the issue a year later. Was the one that actually diagnosed it as separation anxiety.
Right, but I'm just saying that the adults in your life didn't look at the changes in life and be like, oh, hey, this might be related to this thing. No, it was like a problem that needed to be shoved under the rug.
Well, you got to remember also, like, you know, first of all, this is...
I don't have to remember anything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you weren't there.
No, I wasn't there.
1989. This is... There's no internet. There's no researching anything from peer-reviewed paperwork or getting insight from other parents or anything like that. My family immigrated, like mom and dad both immigrated from the Middle East. So I'm pretty sure where they came from, mental health wasn't even a subject, you know? So, yeah. And just, so anyway, long story short, it wasn't my best experience, obviously. So,
it was a terrible experience.
It was a terrible experience.
Had deep ramifications for the rest of your life.
I figured it out.
No. But like when you were telling the story,
right, yeah.
Like what happened.
Yeah. I'm like, I told you.
My parents are sitting there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure my mom and dad were like, oh shit. Because I just found out about it and I was like, what? Our oldest kid was already born.
Right.
And I was in utter shock, and it just reinforced how I felt about things. I was like, well,
it reinforced perfect. How you felt about things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, it wasn't the best time, but
bottom line is this.
Yeah.
If your kid has an emotional reaction to something, don't send them away from you.
I learned that when you talk about your feelings, you get locked up.
So ergo, this dude over here didn't talk about his feelings.
I figured it out.
For a very, very long time. Very long time.
So what I did was...
The one feeling that he has.
18 years old, I went and started working at nightclubs and bars so I could take my feelings out on people. I'm kidding.
And he dated Champagne.
What? Whoa. Who is this Champagne you speak of?
Your stripper girlfriend.
Okay, to clarify, right?
Was she in nursing school?
No, well, hold on. There's like no reference. You just went from like
you said
child like therapy horror stories to dating strippers. like there was,
which tells you
there was no jump.
Don't tell your kids to hide their feelings, or they'll end up dating Champagne. I'm sure Champagne is lovely.
I was gonna be like, what the hell am I sponsoring?
I mean, he's not dating Champagne now.
No, thank you.
We've been together a long time.
See, if this podcast was any kind of big at all, then like that would just be a snippet that the media run with, like, you know.
Oh, I know.
Hooligan dates stripper while wife sits there.
Like judgmental white supremacists.
Damn Harridan.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway.
Eat my shorts.
Okay, so that was last one. So we're getting into therapy talk.
Yeah.
And obviously from our experience now, you have a therapist. We do couples therapy every couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely paid off a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's like anything else. It's like your relationship is your own mental health, but your relationship as a whole, especially with your significant other is this like living entity.
It is.
You have to work at it. You have to put time and energy into it. You have to make sure, like your body, like why we train. We do that to stay on top of it. We don't stay healthy by saying like we're healthy and then do nothing.
Yeah.
So like, why would you not do that with a relationship? You can't just say like I have a good relationship, but
well,
then you
any
don't work
relationship,
on it.
like with your siblings, with your parents, with your significant other, with yourself, with your children, with your nieces and nephews or whatever, it takes work. It takes effort. It takes sending a text, making a phone call,
right?
Like holding somebody's hand or like looking him in the eye. It takes effort.
Yeah.
And if you think it doesn't, then you should talk to your significant other and see what they think.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you it takes effort.
It does. 100%.
And we've had that conversation with a couple of our single people in our lives, and they're like, nobody else says it's that hard. Why is it so hard for you guys? And I'm like, they're lying to you, or they don't feel comfortable telling you.
Why don't you have any friends?
That it's hard like this. It's not.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Anything and we've said this before, and I'll say it again. Anything worth having takes work. Anything.
Right. And it's so interesting because like we're going through this. Not to put our kids on blast, we're going through this right now.
Oh my gosh!
He's a teenager, like our son, who's 13.
And he knows everything. He knows everything.
We don't have to do shit anymore.
Way better than we do. He knows how to parent better than we do. He knows more about life than we do. He knows all the things, and he's all of 13.
It doesn't matter if he doesn't want to do anything right now. As soon as the responsibilities fall on him, he'll just flip the switch and he will know everything.
Yeah, it's
so
insane.
aggravating.
It is super frustrating.
I remember parts of those conversations with my dad. I'm like, no, don't do that. You don't know.
So this is where I should have just walked away. He and I got in an argument this morning.
It's so funny. I got back from the gym.
Before my therapy session, actually, with my therapist.
Yeah.
About Harry Potter's genetics.
Wait, okay, before you get into the story, I want to tell you how I find out about it.
Oh, so you tell me. Okay.
I came home and I'm finishing school because I know like 11 o'clock you go into your session.
Yeah.
And I went downstairs, pick up from where the kids are. And usually I'm home before you go in there, but today was just an exception.
Yeah.
Busier day. And I look up on the board and we do, and we're probably going to do
this is something that my therapist suggested.
Right. We do the name and the check marks on the board, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the kids, okay, name on the board, disruption. Okay, 1, 2, 3, third check mark, boom. Like
you lose jiu-jitsu for the day or whatever it is that you're looking forward to.
So I get home and I look up on the board and I see Elias has 3 check marks. And I was like, So I call him out. I go, hey man, what happened? And he goes, what? I go, how'd you get 3 check marks? And I didn't snap at him and yell at him. I didn't say like, why are you being stupid? Like nothing like that. I was just asking him what happened. I was arguing with mom about Harry Potter. And I go, I said, after school? He goes, what? I said, after school. He goes, no, before she went upstairs and before he got home. I said, so during school? He goes, yeah. So how'd the Harry Potter argument come up during school? And he goes, well, they're working, and he was pointing to the twins. They're working on a project, and they have Harry Potter characters in them. I said, okay.
Yep. Their writing assignment for the day was to tell a fairy tale
from a different
point of view of somebody in the story, and they chose Harry Potter, and they chose to tell it from a different person's perspective.
And I said, and then you interjected. He goes, what? No. I said, so what you're telling me is mom was working with Calliope and Reagan Ireland on a project, and then she stopped and then turned to you and said, Elias, what do you think about this subject? And,
no.
And he just gets this smirk going, well, I mean, she said something about his lineage of the Half-Blood Prince, and I told her she was wrong.
Right?
And it just,
right?
Like, as the words were coming out of his mouth, I'm just looking at him, right? And I'm just like kind of cockeyed, just kind of look at him. I'm like, And you can see him going like, I don't know why I'm saying this.
The wheels are turning in his head going, oh, shit.
So I said, so how'd that go? He goes, I think I won. I said, did you? He goes, yeah. I'm like, are you going to jiu-jitsu? He goes, I'm like, all right, you win. Tell him what he won. Nothing.
Also, he didn't. Yeah. He's wrong.
Yeah. So it was
because I'm like, this is like basic biology, bro. I even put up a Punnett square on the whiteboard, and he was like, no. I'm like, that they're not mutually exclusive. They didn't exist at the same time.
I told him. Then I started asking him, and again, before I talked to you, I asked him. I said, so were you just chiming in, and mom's telling you to be quiet, and you wouldn't, so she just checked her name off 3 times? He goes, no, she was like arguing with me about it. I said, oh, you sucked mom into a Harry Potter argument during school? He goes, yeah. I said, and I joked with him. I said, you should probably get a check mark back for that one.
I mean, he did go to jiu-jitsu today,
Yeah,
so he did kind
great.
of get the
Yeah,
check mark back
yeah.
for that.
So,
But it was
I don't
whether
know how we got on
Harry
that.
Potter,
Oh, the kid stuff. Yeah.
whether Harry Potter could be a mudblood
I don't
or a
trust Harry
half-blood.
Potter episode.
Okay, but here's the thing. Based on genetics,
Yeah.
a half-blood is a muggle, which for all of you non-Harry Potter people out there means you. A muggle,
Did you just call our audience muggles?
if they don't know who Harry Potter is, yes. It's not an insult. It just means you're non-magical, which is all of us.
I don't know. I feel like I'd punch somebody in the face to call me a muggle.
You
or at
might.
least choke them.
You might. But it's when a muggle or a non-magical person and a wizard or witch have a child, that person is a half-blood. But and he was like, oh, Harry's a half-blood. And I said, Harry's not a half-blood because his mom was a witch. His mom was born from a normal family, but she was a witch. She was the genetic anomaly. And his dad was from a wizarding family. And I said, so he is half mudblood, half pureblood. He goes, he can't be both those at the same time. And I was like, your dad is Palestinian. I'm not. You're half your dad. You're half me. It's not mutually exclusive. You're this. You can be both of those things at once. No, because they're magic and then ride brooms and genetics don't count there. And I was like, no, that's not how it works.
Now it all makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
The Arab in him gives him the arrogance and the cockiness, and then the Irish in him gives him like that
stubbornness.
sass, stubborn, like anger.
But that's why I was like, look, it's basic biology. I will show it to you. And he was like, no, you can't. They can't be the same at the same time. And I was
Is that
like,
what it was? I didn't
yes,
get that deep with him.
That's what it was. I had a Punnett square on the whiteboard because he was determined. He was like, no, you're wrong. And I was like, dude,
I'm laughing
it's genetics.
You took time out of your day.
I know.
Big
I
diagrams.
talked to you about it. I talked to my therapist about it because I was like, listen, this just happened. And she goes, and she started laughing. And
Of course
I was
she
like,
did.
it's like I don't take. I'm like, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Just trust me. It's
That's
stupid.
too funny.
So therapy.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's
Yeah.
so funny.
So if you were wondering, Harry Potter is half mudblood, half pureblood.
That was the point of this episode.
Not a half-blood prince. Because he is not a half-blood prince.
Okay, so let's get to some of the. Obviously, we've talked.
I'm
about
sure
how
somebody will respond and be like, yes, he was, and you're wrong. I guarantee you it'll happen.
just off the rails here.
Yeah. Anyway,
I
don't care.
Therapy.
I'm proud of my nerdiness.
Therapy's helping you with your nerdiness.
Therapy. It is. I mean, I talked to my therapist about it today.
That's good.
And she gave me some really good tools and some ideas.
Okay. So we were talking about how, it's really helped us in utilizing it to work through things. Like we started doing it because one of them was kind of working through old stuff.
Yeah.
Like we got to a point where we felt we'd gone through some really hard things, and then it was smoother, then some really hard stuff, and then a little bit better, and then kind of like static. And then after we moved here, and then my dad died, and then your dad died, and then went through some pretty emotional things and some other stuff.
I was kind of like,
yeah,
fuck it.
Yeah.
Like, and that's how I was in it. Like I was
Right.
in this headspace that, like looking back at it, I can recognize it for what it is. And I think it was so interesting because I knew it what it was in the moment.
You just didn't care.
But I had like my lizard brain was like, doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But my rational brain was like, it's like partitioning. It's like, okay,
Sure.
well, this is why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. This is why this is going on. And my lizard brain was like, I don't care.
Yeah, and it brought up a bunch of
stuff.
old crap too from like early on in our relationship as well. So going through, we've gone through like some really, really hard. I mean, there was a week there before we started going to therapy where we had like intense, like relationship defining divorce talk. All kinds of stuff.
Every day,
night and day,
every
off and
night.
on. Text message, I'm at work. We were just drilling
was
through
constant.
this stuff. It was exhausting.
Yeah.
And but it was good because it had to be done. And then, but I guess kind of coming out of that, going to therapy together, with a like mind of what we were looking to get out of it.
Yeah.
I think has made a really big difference. It's made a big improvement in our relationship. How we
communicate with each other.
Yep.
Or even just like,
well, even how we look at
even
intent.
awareness.
Yeah,
even
like,
the awareness of each other.
Yeah. Well, and then even like intent in conversation from the other person. It's like, and what I like about our therapist is that we will talk about something, and in in a way, he'll start out with asking, like, is there anything we want to talk about, like how the week go, that kind of thing. And then we'll bring some stuff up. And he doesn't just like listen, like, how was your day? And then we just kind of ramble on. And then he goes, okay, so let's get to this. He'll listen. And then sometimes he'll pick something out of something we said that neither one of us really thought beyond, like, just moved on past it. And then he'll start peeling, like, at the layer of the onion, right? And then get to it. And that style is really interesting to me because there's been some pretty deep conversations and kind of discoveries on how we look at each other and how we think like the other person thinks,
or don't look at each other.
And it's come from these little like snippets of things that he's pulled from conversations we're having, and then he won't force it. That's what I really like about it. It's not like a hard force. It's just peel back the layer. What do you think? Okay, tell me more about that. Like how are you feeling when you said this? And then that's one of the things I really enjoy about his style is it's not this like bludgeon you in the head going like, like you should feel this way. Or I think the other end of it is a dismissive approach as well.
Or
too.
The therapist that we had before who talked about his own issues. And therapy sessions with
I forgot about that one. Totally forgot about that one. That was 6-7 years ago, I think. After the twins were born, right? Yeah.
I was pregnant with the twins.
Yeah.
It was just like he spent more of our sessions talking about him and his wife.
Yeah.
Than anything else.
Yeah. Also, I was awesome and unique and was like a special person according to him. So I knew
he really thought you were like amazing and the sun shone out of your ass. Which is always a bad sign if somebody thinks that one person is above reproach. Then you're like, oh, that's
looking back at it now, it was like because like I didn't really go
maybe
into
he
it.
Liked you,
and I didn't really go into it with an open mind, and also like with an intent to be like really brutally honest, right? Because I was still like had so much stuff layered and buried that it was so easy to put on this thing of. Look, I'm a dad. I got 4 kids. I own a business, but like I'm home by 3, so that when my wife can go to the gym and I take them to their activities and this and that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like surface wise, it was like I'm awesome.
Well, and here's the thing though about therapy and anything else that you do.
Yeah.
Anything else that you do, if you do not go into that relationship, that conversation, that modality of therapy with the intent of being honest and open, honest to the point of discomfort and open, you will fail. Mm-hmm. And it won't be the therapist's fault, and it won't be that therapy doesn't work. It will be that you have not brought to the table your side of the bargain. Like anything else, if you are not committed to having the uncomfortable conversations and addressing the things that hurt or you don't want to talk about with other people, you will not find a solution and you will not find relief. It will just become an exercise in futility, and they'll be taking your money and you'll be spinning in a circle on your thumb.
Well said. All right, so let's get to some of the responses we got.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have some I got multiple boxes filled out by the same people.
Okay.
I wonder if I should save the funny one to begin or to end. Do you have funny ones?
No. Both mine were dealing with the death of one was with a current significant other, and then one was with an ex. So already moved on, gone through a divorce, remarried, and his ex passed away, and they didn't obviously end their relationship well, but having to deal with. So I'll just talk about that one. Yeah. That one. So one of the things he said he really struggled with was this is a buddy of mine out in Washington, and went to high school with him as well, which is kind of funny because we moved similar areas. He talked about how after she had passed, how he struggled with feeling bad about how she died. She got sick and passed away from cancer, but he was saying like she died alone, basically.
Yeah.
And the issue was that he had a hard time with was when he got separated and then gone, and they had their issues, but like she had some major like substance abuse problems and some other things as well. So, and the relationship became abusive, which you don't hear about much, that a marriage can be abusive, like the woman towards the man.
Happens a lot.
It
actually.
does actually.
Men are less likely to report that
We
to
have a good friend
police
going through that now.
because
And it's not like you're getting the crap kicked out of you and you can't like defend yourself. It's that like if physical,
you defend yourself,
then you're going to jail.
then you're going to jail
Yeah.
because you
put your hands on.
right.
Yeah.
And it's like I know of more than a handful of relationships where this has been the case.
We have a friend going through it right now.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
like
we have a
in
friend
my
going through it right
growing
now.
up. Like I've seen it happen, and
because he's twice her size and he used to be a professional boxer.
yeah,
There's no way in hell anything at all
that he would
said.
touch her.
If she just says that he hit me, and I was defending myself, then that's it. It's done.
Yeah.
So getting back to this one, they got divorced. Hadn't talked to her in, I don't know how many
They had
years.
2
it's been.
kids, right?
What's that?
They had 2 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then, oh no, this is somebody different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not,
The
Dave.
other guy. Okay.
He sent one in as well, but
Mhm.
it was more clear cut.
Mhm.
So there, no kids.
Mm.
So he got remarried
Mhm.
a couple years later, and then found out about a year later that his ex had died from cancer. And he said the thing that he struggled with was that the first part of the relationship was pretty awesome, and he said it actually contributed to kind of who he is now as a person.
Of course.
Because he used to be more in a shell, and she was just like vibrant, like vivacious, just like dynamic energy, like ball. He said, and he used that, like she said, it's like that cliche. He was like this bright star, shining star, and just like lit up the sky, but burned out fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what happened. And he said what he struggled with after she passed away was appreciating the good times and trying to let go of all the shit and the bad stuff that happened afterwards.
Which I think is the hard part when anyone passes away.
And he said what helped him with therapy was, which he said he felt weird at first. And he said his wife was the one who told him, like, you should talk to a therapist about this. So he said, I felt so weird going to a therapist to talk about my dead ex-wife.
Yeah.
And the person who told me to go to therapy about it was my current wife, right? Yeah. And a big part of it, he said what he learned from that and came out of it was obviously just dealing with some old stuff that he had just let go and put away. Not let go, he just put away.
Yeah.
And didn't really address it, but also figuring out and getting the tools to realize how he can appreciate everything about her and not harp on the stuff that happened later. Because also there's no point. She's gone, right? So like, what was the point of that? Yeah. So it helped him kind of let go of that stuff too. Especially because he'd already moved on with his life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So her death had kind of brought all the stuff back.
Yeah. There's that saying, like, the best and the worst in people is brought out at weddings and funerals.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I experienced both this year in my family, a wedding and a funeral.
True.
And I would say that is pretty accurate.
Yeah, there was some drama both, for sure. And some pretty awesome
but some really
times.
beautiful moments too.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the last time I saw your dad was at my dad's funeral.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was one of many of one of my favorite memories with your dad. So.
Yeah. So I think that that is the thing that we struggle with when people are gone, is if we didn't resolve something, or if we have frustration or anger, whatever it is that we're hanging on to.
Yeah.
It does, like, you can't do anything with that anymore. And so I think that it's, therapy is helpful for that.
Yeah. I think for a while I struggled with that with, even though it's only coming up on
a year
next week or 2 weeks from now. What was it?
A year on Saturday.
Yeah, that my dad passed away.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like he's been gone longer because he was sick for a long time.
Yeah.
And processing some of that stuff recently with some of the issues that me and him had relationship wise, and then also still recognizing like all the good things that he did too. And it's better now. It's a lot better now, actually. I'm a lot more well balanced in how I kind of approach it, because I feel like having any kind of resentment of anything that I didn't agree with or was damaging or anything like that again, doesn't do me any good going forward, or doesn't make me a better dad beyond just early on realizing my approach to parenting was going to be, and not perfect and still working on it, but like, how do I take the things that I feel like my parents did really well, and then how do I look at things I can improve upon, right?
Which I think is every parent's goal is to,
hopefully
to take every parent's goal is to take what the beautiful things about their childhood and then to improve upon the things that maybe they didn't like or didn't agree with.
Yeah, I remember the first time I told Elias, like, we were having a kind of a intense conversation. It was a couple years ago in Tacoma, and I told him, and it was like, when he really started expressing more independence and pushing back on thought and conversations and whatnot. And I told him, I said, look, like, and I think back about it now, and the way I said it probably wasn't the best way, but I knew what I was trying to say. And I said, no, like, you're better than me. Like, my goal is like for you to be better than me. And he took it at first because he was 11. He was like, what do you mean? Like, you're saying you're like a bad person? I said, no. I said, what I'm saying is like, my goal as a parent is to raise you to be better than, like, that's part of it. And when I say better, what I mean is like an improved version. I joke with him because he loves cars. I said, like, you're the 3.0 model, right?
Yeah.
and he started laughing because he got what I meant.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that this sucks. It just means like every time a new generation of a product comes out or something, I said
the bugs are fixed.
Yeah, they're not. The company isn't putting out, the manufacturer's not putting out the same product over and over again, right? They're always looking to make improvements and fixes and growth and a little bit better. And like I said, like, that's our goal. I said that's how I approach like how we should improve civilization. Is every generation is trying to improve on the previous one. Now, there's a whole lot of things up for debate as far as what is actual improvement and what is going backwards and detriment. But we're talking about our own personal experiences here,
right? And
that's kind of where I said to him, and then remembering that conversation when we started going to therapy together has helped me how I approach things. And it's helped me also with how I temper my reactions to things, to where when you tell me, hey, like, you're a little out of sorts right now, like, you're not responding really well right here, go take a break, or like, that's not okay, like, talking, like, saying that specific thing, I hear what you're saying. And in the past, I would just get super defensive and say, like, you're defending the kids, like taking their side, or that you're not backing me up as their dad. Whereas
undermining
now,
your authority.
Exactly. Whereas now it's more of like, okay, I hear you, I see where you're coming from with this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's been good.
Mm-hmm.
Should we talk about other people's therapy experiences now?
I know. Yeah, we kind of went deep in ours.
Okay. So we
should just call this like our therapies.
I have a fun one. The only fun one I have. The rest of them are more serious. But this is from our friend. You will know who it is when I say it. And this is his favorite form of therapy. I try to choke people and they try to choke me.
well, that could be a lot of friends now.
Well, it's just the long-standing one friend that you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I know.
So that's how he deals with...
He's fairly strong.
He's fairly strong.
Yeah, okay.
That's how he deals with the things
Did I send you this? No.
that come up in his life.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, though. I find training and jiu-jitsu as a really awesome outlet. I'm definitely not trying to kill people. I'm just trying to gently choke them so that they tap, or put pressure on their joints so that they decide that they don't want to go there anymore. But I find physical activity is another form of therapy.
Rogan says jiu-jitsu is a real-life chess match with dire consequences.
Yes.
And
yes.
And like, the therapy part of it is so true, especially if you can put yourself in a place where you've got awesome people that go there. Goes back to like numerous things we've talked about before, which is jumping into something where you have like this combined suckage with other people, right? Yeah. So you're kind of suffering
Embrace
together. Together and improving together and having fun. Like, I don't know how many times I had roles where, it's good, like, you're getting choked and then you're able to reverse the position, and then you've almost got like an arm bar, and then they flat and this and that, and then you end up going back and forth tapping each other 3 times, and afterwards, like, the bell goes off for the round. You're both sweating, breathing hard, like, woo, and then you just like high five, fist bump, and right, boom, and then go to the next
person.
Yeah, and that's so, like, that's therapeutic. Mm-hmm. That's so much fun, and I totally 100% not wrong. No,
I mean, in our opinion, he's not wrong.
It's fact. Fact checker.
Fact.
Yeah.
Fact.
Fact checker says
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. All right. That's from The Office, if you're not aware, if you also live in a hole. If you don't know Harry Potter and The Office,
the worst
I cannot
show
help
ever.
you. I cannot help you.
Ever, except for Jim.
If you don't know Schitt's Creek, too, I
That's
just
an awesome show.
can't help you.
I feel like if we just talk about those enough, they'll become official sponsors.
That'd be really fun.
We'll speak it into existence.
But then there's fruit wine. Okay, so I have... This is a longer response. I have more longer ones, but this is a like 3-box response from a mutual friend. Because the original question was therapy. Do you utilize it? Why not? Or other modalities? Because I wanted to know if people used other ways to cope as a coping mechanism, not necessarily unhealthy or healthy or whatever. No judgment attached to it, just different ways.
Yeah.
And this person says, I have. I sought far and wide for a therapist who used the Carl Rogers person-centered approach because it's dialogue-based. It helped after a nasty breakup. But I feel I only touched the surface and should continue because stuff resurfaces frequently. And I did an in-depth, like, whenever anyone responds to these, I try to respond directly to them.
Yeah.
Because then, A, they know they're heard.
Yeah. And
then, B, I can clarify and I can ask more questions and I can get a little bit more background and have more to work with. Excuse me, I'm gonna have to go back a little bit because this person and I talk pretty regularly. Because he's hilarious. Okay, so I said, Carl Rogers, tell me more about that. And I told him I'm familiar with IFS and solution-based therapy. And he said, it's dialogue-based and free-flowing and super conversational and natural, which sounds really appealing to me.
Is that how, what's his name, approached it when I was with? Because it seemed very free flowy. Remember, like
maybe I just feel like he talked about himself too much, but maybe that's what he was shooting for.
Yeah,
but maybe that's what it was. And I agree. I like the conversational aspect of therapy versus like when my first therapist. I remember her saying like, I'd be like, so this week I struggled with this, and she was like, "Are you telling me this because you feel like you owe me an explanation?" Like I felt like I was like checking in with
you had to justify your
no, like I was checking in with my like parole officer.
Oh,
like,
gotcha. Okay.
You know what I mean? And so he really liked the dialogue, the conversation, the flow, the like wherever it would take him. And I asked him like, when do resurfacing things happen? And he says usually at the beginning of a new relationship. And so I talked a little bit about other styles, which he called reductionist bullshit. So you know what his feelings are on other styles of therapy.
Yeah.
But we talked a little bit about that and kind of went in deep with how if you don't address things, they keep coming up. They keep cropping up in your life. Like if it's you can't, it's the bad penny. You can't avoid it. It doesn't just go away. And that's I think what therapy offers people is a way to, I mean, at least the therapies that I've been involved in, is it offers people a way to integrate whatever keeps popping up or like heal whatever that trauma is, or at least look at it and just find a way to kind of be okay with it and coexist with it. So that was one. Do you have another one?
No, those were the two that I got.
Okay. Just the two? Well, you only said the one.
Oh, the other one was it was very brief. It was basically he just said, it was after an ex had passed, an ex had passed away and just helped him get over it, and that was it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but didn't go into details. Yeah.
Okay. And then I got another response that therapy, yes, therapy is good. Yes, I use it. It's life-saving and life-changing. And in this person's situation, like it was a family of origin, like trauma. And they started when they were young, so they'd had a few different therapists. But what the difficulty that they had was being vulnerable for the first time and open and trusting that the person that you're giving this information to is not going to use it against you. And a lot of times when we come from places of trauma or places of mistrust or places of abandonment or places of, fear, like people have died on you traumatically or whatever. I'll say whatever in a flippant way, but I don't mean whatever in a flippant way, but whatever the thing is that is causing you trauma and causing like these issues to pop up.
Yeah.
There is that moment like where you step off a ledge where you're not sure if you're going to clear the rocks and hit the water or if you're going to hit the rocks.
Yeah.
And when you're somebody who trusts very seldom and who is very protective of yourself, that can be the scariest thing. Being open and honest and truthful can be terrifying. And so I recognize that therapy can be this kind of behemoth that you're afraid to let in because it feels overwhelming and too big and too much sometimes. But
well, and it's something I forgot to bring up at the beginning. It's definitely one of those things where your intention, actually, no, we did talk about it a little bit. Your intention with therapy is what you're going to get out of it for the most part.
Right.
Yeah. And now what I mean, like you're going to dictate the terms. What I mean by that is that you have
whatever
an
you
open
put
mind.
in.
Yeah. You have an open mind that like, I'm going in this with an open mind to, you may have some ideas of what you want to work on specifically. But to have open mind to really, to put in the work beyond just, because sometimes people think that therapy is like a workout. Like if I just show up and just do the thing I'm supposed to do for that hour, right? Then I'm good to go. So, and from experience, like working with clients, like in the fitness side of things, I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with clients saying like, okay, so if I do this and do that, then I'm going to lose weight or I'm going to put on muscle. I'll be ready for the show or I'll be able to do this better. And I tell them, I said, listen, the part where you come see me, that's the easy part. They go, what the hell are you talking about easy? Like that's like your workouts aren't easy. And I said, no, that's not what I mean. What I mean is you paid the money, you showed up 3 days a week, and then you're doing an hour of work 3 days a week. I said, you have 23 other hours in the day to fuck this all up.
Mm-hmm.
So therapy is the same, where what I mean is like you can go to your session once a week, once every other week, twice a week, however often you're doing it, right? But if you're not taking any of the things you're learning from there and actually trying to grow and put them into practice into your life,
Mm-hmm.
to actually improve your life and those around you, which is the whole reason why hopefully you went to therapy to begin with, then like what are you doing, right? You know, then it's just a little bit of lip service, or it's basically just a vent session.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you can find a bar and do it for a lot cheaper. Or not, depending on your
Poor
town.
bartenders. But yeah.
Or get a trainer, you know?
Well,
because we're the unofficial
we joke
therapists.
about that is we're kind of, yeah.
Sounding boards.
Because we know people's weight and measurements, usually, not always, but usually then they feel like they can be super vulnerable with us, which is sometimes positive.
We got one more, two more.
I have a bunch more.
You have a bunch more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
here's the thing. We're at almost an hour. It's 10:15. You're flying out to Texas bright and early tomorrow for a starting strength seminar. So
an audit.
Yeah.
And my friends are there that I haven't seen in a couple of years.
Cool. And you got to say hi to some of your friends.
Yes.
That I have not met yet, but I've gotten to know via the socials because of this podcast and your ever-growing, you know, influencer page.
Whatever, we're friends. It's fine.
Somebody told me, like, is your wife like an influencer?
No, I'm not an influencer.
I told them, like, you should tell her that. She loves that.
I'm not an influencer. I get these like messages all the time. They're like, do you want to be an ambassador for our jewelry company or our ghee rash guard company or blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, delete, block. No, leave me alone. I don't.
You need to respond with how much.
No, I don't. No.
Do what Andy does now when people ask him to go speak at events like across the country.
$80,000.
He just throws out like this obscene number, and then like every now and then somebody meets it.
No, I'm not.
Somebody's bound to be like, no. You're like, you should tell him like PayPal me $10,000, and
I will wear your. Because then what do they want me to do? What do they want me to do for that $10,000? No thanks. So I will run through a couple of these.
Okay, let's get a couple more in and then wrap this up so you can get to sleep.
This is from another good friend. I've been in therapy since.
And leave me with our 5 kids by myself.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You can't guilt me into not.
I am not at all. I was
eat
gone
a
for
bag
2
of
weeks.
dicks.
I was gone for 2 weeks.
And then another one, a third one, camping with your best friend, eating steak.
You made me prime rib on the top of a mountain.
Yeah. I don't get prime rib when I'm going to Texas.
You're going to Texas. There's prime rib everywhere.
Doesn't know.
Rib probably has it in the gym. He's probably got somebody barbecuing outside.
They did last year. They had brisket.
There you go. So.
Okay, so I've been in therapy since 2013, once a week, sometimes every other week. It's good for you. And I got, yes, because it's healthy and good to get guidance when we need it. Online therapy is rad. And then I got this response from somebody, and it's multiple aspects of like, marriage therapy did not go well. Husband was uncomfortable, sad, hurt. But this person also had therapies for one of their kids, and it was really, really helpful.
Oh, good.
In like emotional dysregulation and an eating disorder, which disordered eating is definitely connected to traumas. Usually, I mean,
right,
almost always.
Yeah.
And then this person also said that their therapist retired, or else they'd still be seeing them. And then their last response was, "Why can't therapists be as easily accessible as opioids?" And I, amen to that. High five, sister. Also, why can't they? Like, opioids are highly addictive. I don't know anybody who's like, I'm addicted to therapy. Like, got to get my therapy fix. Which, I think that's a much healthier response than being like popping pills and puking or whatever.
There's actually a really good, I'll have to look it up for our next one and post it. There's a great newer on like the broader spectrum of things, therapy service out there that's makes it more affordable. Andy talks about it on his podcast. I think it's one of his sponsors. I'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
Go back and listen to it as well. But yeah, it definitely is a lot more accessible now than it used to be, especially now that, again, I guess you can call it one of the benefits that came out of the pandemic was people figured out that
you could do teledoc services.
You could do teledoc services and more. And there were companies already doing it, but now that kind of forced more people into it. So, it's interesting. So, okay.
So then let's do two more. So this person that had been seeing somebody since 2013, I asked for some clarification. And their response was they found a counselor that they had the same morals, same beliefs, and from religion to politics, which I don't know that it is 100% necessary, but it definitely helps if you're, say, a religious person and your therapist is also of that same religion, because you don't feel judged, or you have to you have to explain yourself when you're talking about something that you're dealing with.
Right.
And then building trust. And the reason this person, like in her case, she was worried that her therapy session would get leaked. Somebody would find out. Somebody would use it against her somehow.
Oh, by doing it online?
Or no, this was like in person. This is somebody that's been seeing somebody for a really long time. But that's because that's the relationship and the life that she had. It was that, like, if she was honest and open and vulnerable, it was used against her.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
okay.
So she purposely sought out a therapist who was the opposite gender from her, because she knew that she had struggles with communicating with guys, and she needed a male perspective on what she was going through or what her issues were. So, and I don't, that's not, that won't work for certain things that need,
right.
It's not necessarily a good idea for, say, sexual assault victims, but
yeah.
But in her case, it gave her the perspective that she was looking for. And she has gotten to learn, she's gotten to learn a lot more about, the male perspective in a safe, non-judgmental space that's not connected to, her partner or her brother or her dad or her whatever the males in your life are, where there's going to be some, there are going to be connotations attached to it, or they know you so they don't listen, or whatever it is. So it ended up being extremely beneficial for her, and I would say probably for her relationships with the men in her life, because she was, less guarded, more open, and all those things. So that was another one. And I mean, like I said, I had the multiple responses, and hers was the last one. So yeah, it was an overwhelmingly positive response in that people use therapy.
Right.
They see the benefit, the benefit in it. They see how helpful it can be. They a lot of them said things like, if you don't go in there with an open mind and an open heart and being vulnerable and honest, then it won't work. Which is what I said earlier in the podcast is you get out of it what you put into it. And if you walk into therapy being like, I want to talk about this, I won't talk about this, and this. What you probably need to talk about is this, and this. And that one thing that you'll talk about is probably not the root cause of your issues. But you get in you get out what you put in.
Yeah.
Like anything else. Mm-hmm. And it is a relationship because there's a give and a take there. And they have to trust you to be honest with them, and you have to trust them to keep you safe and protect you, but be honest with you. So, therapy, yeah.
Go therapy.
I say that flippantly, but therapy is life-saving.
For sure.
So,
yeah. Anything else you want to hit on?
That's it.
I think that's good.
What are we doing next episode?
Pull up our magic sheet.
Sheet.
I feel like we have a good cadence where we should throw something a little more fun out there and lighthearted.
I agree, because it's a little bit heavy.
Yeah.
We did the Google ad close. Okay. Biggest fight, dumbest fight, deepest wish, therapy, in-law horror stories, things that piss you off as an adult. Mm-hmm. We should do secret you've never told your partner.
Oh, this will be fun.
Not deepest wish.
No,
this is
actual secret.
Secret that you
shit that's
have
happened.
not shared. Shit that's happened that you have not shared. Like, I pooped my pants and I hid my boxers.
Say poop your pants.
Yeah, and I hid my boxers and I blamed it on my kid. Like, the secret that you've never told your parent or your partner. What? I'm just giving you an example.
I feel like this one's going to get a lot of responses. I'm going to preempt this with reminding everyone that
it's not just about sex.
I was going to say it's anonymous.
Yes, they're always anonymous.
I feel like my audience is going to throw me a bunch about sex because
it always does.
The dirtbags I have that follow me.
And mine are always like,
And when I say dirtbags, I mean all my friends. So.
Yeah, your friends are dirtbags. I love you.
Okay, so. Secret
you've never told your partner. Not deepest wish. This is things that have actually happened, things that have actually occurred that you have not shared with your person. And yes, they are 1,000% anonymous. We will not say your name on accident. I get mine. He doesn't know who they are, and he gets his, and I don't know who they are.
Exactly.
I might ask him afterwards and be like, "Who was that?" But we don't do it on air. We don't talk about it.
No.
It's. You have essentially attorney-client privilege. We 100%. Do not share this information with anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
So. Like, even if somebody came up to me and asked me, I wouldn't share because it's not my place to do so. So remember that when you tell us your secrets that you have not told your partner.
All right. Till next time. I'm the Hooligan.
And I am the Harridan.
All right.